when I thought about myself having chocolate baby boys, I always thought like short haircuts with a nice fade on the side. Like, you know, like that's just always how I imagined my kids.
Yeah, and I was like, boring.
And so now comes the day that we are trying to cut it. And I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I am a very vain person. I was concerned about how he would look because I had become accustomed to him with dreads. I could already tell his ears were kind of like, you know, sticking out, and the dreads kind of did a good job of disguising that. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what if his head shape is like mine? Because my head is like a complete egg and it just looked crazy. Hello, I'm Mrs. Melanin.
And I'm Beleaf Mel.
And we're here with episode 71 of How Married Are You?
All right. My name Beleaf. This is Yvette, and we've been married 9 years. We live in California, and we have four kids. Relationships are scary, and it's very necessary that we share all of our struggles, and we ask how married are you? Every Tuesday and Thursday, shoddy. If you listen and you're in the wedding party, sometimes deep, sometimes it's lighthearted. I don't know what else to say, so it's time to get it started. Let's chocolate baby story time. Yeah. Hey, yo, it's chocolate baby story time. All right. I got a good one. Okay. All right. So
I thought you were about to freestyle even more. I was like, okay, I'm here for that.
I'll pump out the rhymes. You pump out the milk.
Are y'all listening to Glen's playlist? They probably don't even see me pumping right now.
Yeah, she's pumping now, guys.
Oh, that's so funny.
So,
have you guys been listening to Glen's playlist? Love is magnetic.
Love your neighbor.
Love thy neighbor. How? What are you? Sorry, I know the song.
That freestyle.
But no, the one cooking.
Oh, handle that.
Yeah, it has my favorite line in it, and it goes, I ain't going Dutch because Jesus paid it all, or something like that. I love that line. I think about it often.
So
okay, chocolate baby story time.
We got so much to cover in this thing, but
okay.
So today is basically
a chocolate baby story time.
Yeah, this whole episode is like a chocolate baby story time because we're going to discuss Theo's haircut. Mm-hmm. We cut off all of Theo's hair, and if you know anything about our kid Theo, he had very long dreadlocks, and we were growing up for a long time, and it was so much a part of his identity. But we cut him off this week, and I put the video up on Beleaf in Fatherhood, our YouTube channel, and today we're going to discuss that. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Anaya's eye. This morning, she was coughing and going through whatever she was going through. So I went into her bed. And she was like, and I just laid next to her. And then she's like, Dad, you read me a book? And I was like, all right. So I got up, I read her a book. And then she's like, now you lay down next to my babies? And had me like lay down on the other side of her. She's like, now you give me medicine? You know what I mean? It just was like.
Cater to me?
Yeah. And it was like. And I was like, nah, I'm not gonna be able to stay here long because I have to go, do some things. And she was like, oh, what? Like she just, I don't know. She loves me and I know it. She loves me and I know it.
Okay, good. I'm glad you know it. Amen. Be confident in that.
Yeah. What
about
you?
We all know she loves me.
Yeah, that's for sure. Picking your ankle scab. Go ahead.
I just want to talk about Riya Bow for a moment. He's just such a sweetheart, man. He's such a sweetheart. He cares about his siblings in such a way that it just melts my heart. The other day, he Anaya is going through this thing where she just doesn't want to feed herself. But certain people can get her to feed herself. But if it's me, it's like, feed me. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Riya Bow went up to the table like she was having one of those things, and Riya Bow was just like feeding her, and then he just catered to her. He helped her put her shoes on. He Uzi was in the car seat waiting for me to get ready to go. Riya Bow's over there rocking him.
Mm-hmm.
Uzi's like in the swing getting a little fussy while I'm in the kitchen. Riya Bow's over there doing all the crazy moves to like entertain him.
Yeah.
He just looks out for his siblings in such a beautiful way. I had made lunch the other day and Theo was upstairs and Riya Bow goes upstairs to tell his brother that food is ready.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he just loves them so much and I love him.
He's the like perfect support system for the family.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So first of all, we want to just real quick shout out the homies from Walk in Love who sent us our merch we have on. They are having a sale this weekend and their sales basically last like 48 hours or something crazy like that. So if you want any of these things, make sure that you go to walkinlove.com.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the show notes.
Yeah, but it drops this weekend. So we'll put the link in the description so you can pick up, you know, some of these nice clothes. We love their stuff, and we have been working for a long time trying to launch some stuff for Beleaf and Fatherhood, and soon How Married Are You for our clothing is concerned. 5 ounces, yay.
5 ounces.
Yeah, she's
hurting, y'all.
Yeah. So anyway, let's hop into this episode. Shout out to TJ and Brooke from Walk in Love.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead. Well, I'll go.
Yeah, you go.
All right. So, yeah. So Theo has been asking us for a long time, hey, you know, well, he hasn't been asking. He's been kind of like playing around with the idea of getting his hair cut for a long time. And so I think when he was like 3, he mentioned it, but he was like 4 maybe. He was like, my hair, like I don't, you know, I want to cut it. And I was like, are you sure? Like, are you sure? Because I didn't really understand that if he knew what that meant. You know what I mean? Like your hair won't grow back tomorrow, you know? And it was kind of like one of those things where when Uriah turned, like Theo turned 5 and Uriah was still 3 and he was like, then he turned 4 and then the next day he woke up and was like, am I 5 yet? And it was like, nah. So I don't really think they understand like what happens in time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know, when something is cut off, it's cut off. Like you can't grow it. You can grow it back. It's going to take a while. And so Theo has been saying it. And so I think a lot of people are like, why didn't you just cut off his hair? He asked to cut off his hair and all that. And I just was, you got to understand that, like, you know, like for the firstborn, it's always like, I don't know what's beyond that other side of the cliff. You know, I don't know if it's ground over there, if it's safe. And then once you get over, like you're kind of checking to see like, oh my gosh, is this, are we safe here? Is this okay? What's going to happen after? And then once you get over there, you're kind of like, oh, cool. And then when the secondborn wants to cut his hair, you're like, yeah, sure, whatever. You know, I don't think it's going to be as a big deal or emotional as it was with Theo.
Anaya was asking to cut her hair and I was like, nah, sis.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I don't mind her cutting her hair too.
She wants to cut her hair like Theo's.
I would love to cut her hair.
You are cray cray.
At this point, you know,
she doesn't really know right now. I mean, there's a certain time. I don't feel like the age has anything to do with it, but there's a certain level of understanding that you'd want your child to have. Like you'd want to be confident that your child has before making that type of decision. And I don't think that Anaya is old enough to really understand that decision right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we're going to walk you through the process of us going to cut off Theo's hair. And I'll just kind of tell you what happened that morning. We woke up, and I have actually B-roll for this so we can throw this stuff in. So we woke up. How you like that? How you like me just editing like while you're sitting here and just being like, yeah, won't you just can you throw in a little, maybe you should do this? Throw in a little. Can you throw in a little Glen will throw right here.
I'll do it.
And I'll just be like,
you send me the clips, I'll do it.
Cool. So, yeah. So basically we woke up in the morning. We asked the kids, you know, to say bye to Theo and say bye to his hair. They did so. Theo said something. He was like, you know, after I cut my hair, I'm going to be rich. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, because like hair is money. I was like, what are you talking about? And he was just like, I feel like I'm going to be rich. And I think he was just talking about like, he's going to play with his hair like it's money and like pretend like put it in his wallet. Like that's what I think he was saying. But watching the progression of him during the day, he looked rich. There was like so many like moments in the video because you're watching me cut, and as I'm cutting, you can see in my hands, you can't see my face, but my hands are unsure. Like every time I like grab a dread, I'm like, should I cut 2 or should I cut 1, or I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just kind of like, and the whole time he's like he's just like, you could just tell like his neck is like, he's like feeling lighter, you know? And there was just a lot happening. You know, another thing was he wasn't sitting still because it was like his first haircut. So like once I started to like cut, he's like, is it gonna hurt? Why do we have to do this? And then every time I turn on the clip, it's like, and he's like, well, what is that? What does that do? And I'm like, bro, you asked me to cut your hair, man. Like, let's cut your hair, you know? And he was very unsure about the clippers, you know? And so you could just tell it was like his first rodeo. And he didn't really know what the outcome was going to be. But then when he did turn around, like finally, and see himself, he like looked at himself and just was shocked. And then he tried to put his head wrap on, like his head just slapped.
Yeah,
out.
I saw that.
And then he took it off. He lifts it up and then he does like this. And he's
Glen,
like,
for those of you listening and not watching, Glen just raised his eyebrows.
Yeah, he like raised his eyebrows and was like, hey, good looking. You know? And
he said that?
No, that was like the look he gave himself, like, hey, you clean up nice.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, man. And then when he called you,
I called him.
Yeah, you called him. And when you called him in that moment, he goes, hi.
So here's the thing. So that morning,
you guys should go watch the video if you haven't. It's really important that you watch this video.
Go watch the video. Pause right now and go watch. Or you should have paused already and watched. But the thing about me, so like leading up to this whole thing, so Theo says he wants to cut his hair. And I'm like, buddy, I know it's been a while because it literally has been a long time since he's gotten his hair done. And usually when he gets his hair done, it's 2-strand twisted or 3-strand twisted or whatever. So it's out of his face. And he really likes it when he gets his hair done. After he gets his hair done, he's all about his slap cap. He's like, I don't want to mess up my hair because I want it to stay whatever. And so when he asked to cut his hair, I was like, oh, it's because, you know, your hair is in your face. Why don't we look at these different styles that you can get in order to get your hair out of your face? And he was like looking at them with me and he's like, oh, those are nice, but I still want to cut my hair kind of thing. And I was like, okay. And so for me, I don't really understand my because when we first made the decision to get, like when I thought about myself having chocolate baby boys, I always thought like short haircuts with a nice fade on the side. Like, you know, like that's just always how I imagined my kids.
Yeah, and I was like, boring.
So when we got the when we decided to get dreads, it was like it
wasn't a decision. You just came home and his head was twisted.
We had been having the conversation though. And I was anti-dreads. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But I was like, I don't care.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I was like, well, when we get my daughter, I get to do whatever I want with her hair. And so anyway, that was that. And so now comes the day that we are trying to cut it. And I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I am a very vain person. And so, no. I'm not a very vain person. That was a little harsh to say about myself. However, I was concerned about how he would look because I had become accustomed to him with dreads. I could already tell his ears were kind of like, you know, sticking out. And the dreads kind of did a good job of disguising that. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what if his head shape is like mine? Because my head is like a complete egg and it just looked crazy. And so I was a little bit concerned on that level of like how he would look. No matter how he looks, I'm still going to love him or whatever. But kids can be mean.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit concerned about that. And I just really have grown to love his dreads. Like, it's a part of who he is. I just loved it. And so I was trying to kind of deter the decision. And so that morning when it was time for his haircut, I had mom's group. It was like the first mom's group. And I tell you what, I could not even focus.
Really?
I was so nervous. I was so nervous for him because on top of all of that, I was also thinking, what if he makes this decision and then he regrets it? Like, my deepest concern beyond how he looked or whatever was, what if he does this and he regrets it? Like, what if he really doesn't understand the permanent, like, it's not a permanent decision, but it's going to take years. It took 5 years for his hair to get this long. Like, what if he doesn't truly understand what decision he's making? So I was super nervous. I never leave mom's group on time. I left on time because I was trying to see my child. But I called him. When I called him and I heard his voice and he said, "Hi," in such a high-pitched, joyful way, I just about lost it. I was like, he is so happy.
Yeah.
And hearing him settled my spirit a little bit because I still hadn't seen him. So I was still a little bit like when we got to the house, that I just was feeling, you know how you just get nerves and it just goes under your arms and then your throat and then your belly. I don't know why I had all of that, but I had all of that going on. But I tell you what, when I heard his voice, I already heard the transformation that happened when you cut his hair. So
yeah, and I think that when I saw him say like "hi" like that, he looked like he was like 18 months old. Like, he looked like a baby. Like the joy. Yeah. The joy was like real joy.
Yeah.
And so, like, having gone through the moment of, like, cutting my own dreads, right? Like my own lock journey was like very important to me. You know what I'm saying? And when I had to cut it, I was like super like sad.
We have pictures. We should.
Yeah. I was super sad about like that because not because of like how I looked or anything. It just was like, like I'm going to miss this. And so I was kind of feeling it for him, but I understood like the amount of maintenance that didn't have to happen and the amount of time I would save, because I wasn't doing my hair,
How old were you when you cut your hair? Do you remember?
Well, we were together.
I know. We got married at 25 when you were 25. So it was like 24 maybe?
Yeah, I probably cut them at 24. I probably started growing them at 20. So it was only 4 years. But it was like super, it was a lot for me, man, yeah. So going through all that and then, seeing who, like, how Theo has kind of become this new kid, it really feels like what's her face? Cody said from Black Love that like sometimes when kids cut their hair, they blossom. And I feel like he has like truly blossomed. Like even the way he's like walking around the house, doing his little shoulder shrugs and dances.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he just doesn't feel as, and I don't want to say burdened, but like, I don't know.
Heavy. I don't know. He just feels so much lighter. He's so much more, I mean, he was already silly, but I feel like he's sillier.
Yeah.
I feel like he can be seen more and he knows it.
Yeah.
And he's like not, well, to a certain extent, not shying away from it.
Yeah. I don't think that there's anything, I don't think it was anything wrong with us like growing his hair. Like I think that was okay. But I think I wish we would have trusted him sooner with that decision. But I really didn't know. Like I was kind of like, man, I don't know if you know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, because like you're sitting there kind of looking at like his behavior. And this is the problem with parents, right? All parents.
Okay.
All right. Like I don't know if your parents ever did this, but parents would be like, Dad, I really want to, I think I want to, start a business. I mean, you can't even pay your own daggone rent on time. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you going to do all this and you can't do this, So like for me, like watching Theo is kind of like, you can't make a basic decision like this, you know what I'm saying? But you want to make this huge decision, I don't know if I trust you with this. And being 7 years old, like I've never had a 7-year-old before. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. But Theo's birthday, just passed. He just turned 7. We're gonna have his party this weekend. And like I'm feeling more confident in trusting him. Right? I'm feeling more confident with when he says, no, I don't want to do that. And I'm saying, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like I feel way more, okay, so why don't you want to do that? Like, what is it? Is it fear? Is it this? Is it that? Because the truth is, I think he was probably holding on to his hair for fear that people wouldn't, like those awkward moments walking into the house or, talk about what happened.
Yeah. So, he had cut his hair on a Wednesday, and then the next day he had music class with his friends. And so I asked his friends, the parents of his friends, to like come like 10 minutes early so we could kind of do a reveal of Theo's hair. And when that moment came, Theo was he did not want to get out of the car. He was like, Mom, can you close the doors? Type situation. And I was like, what? Like, this is so strange because these are like this is Levi, y'all. Levi and Selah. These are his best friends.
Yeah, he be talking about Levi. I be like, dude, if you don't shut up about Levi, goodness gracious.
Anyway, and so, yeah, these are like his best friends. And he is like, I don't want to get out of the car. It's a whole thing. It was awkward and uncomfortable. I didn't get it. So it ended up his brother and his friends ended up going into class. And then I kind of had to help Theo build up the courage to like get out of the car and go into class. And so that eventually happened. But then I don't know if it was that evening or the following day, my mom ended up coming over because she wanted to see his hair too. And he was like, and I was like, Theo, Mom's coming to see your hair or whatever. And he's like, it's okay, because I know that Grandma loves me anyway. And I was like,
what? Yeah.
That is some deep stuff. Yeah. Like, your friends love you too, regardless of like what's going on with your hair. But it revealed to me that he was concerned that there would be a lot, like with the loss of his locks, there would be a loss of love toward him. And like, it was mind blowing for me that a 7-year-old had made that connection or even had that concern. It was kind of sad, but it was weird. I don't know. And then the same thing happened. Like, if you know anything if you follow us a little bit, you kind of know that Theo is a huge parkour lover, right? And so,
like he goes to parkour class.
He goes to it. He has parkour every week. He goes to parkour, and so it was time to go to parkour. It was like, okay, and he's like, Mom, I don't want to go. Mom, I don't want to go. And I'm like, what? You love parkour. Why don't you want to go to parkour? And he goes, my hair. And I'm like, what? Theo, your hair looks great. People are going to love it. It's no big deal. That's not a reason not to go. And so I was like, we're going, buddy, because, we pay for it. Parkour ain't free now. And so I eventually, help him build up the courage to go. And we get there. And I kind of just let him go. And he is so hesitant. Usually he runs right in, but he was so hesitant going into the class. And he comes out of class and he goes, Mom, he's like all happy and excited and telling me about the kids. And he's like, Mom, they said, Theo, is that you? Like that was their response to him. And he was like happily telling me the story. And mind you, as he's getting his shoes put back on, this little girl goes, bye, Theo. And I'm like, oh my goodness. What the hell is going on here? And he just smiles so big and looks at me like, and so I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. And so, I said a lot. If you watch the videos, it's really a 3-part series. So we'll put the series in the link below, in the description and show notes. But really, what we're doing here is like, man, like it's so many questions that we have as parents. And so some people are like, man, you're being too hard on yourself. You're a good dad. And some people are like, man, you're actually a terrible father because, why wouldn't you just let him da 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 da? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, of course, you know what I mean? Like all those things. Like I think about, a lot of things I could have done better, and I wish but I don't know. Like we really don't know. And so having a safe space to ask those questions and have those thoughts is really important. I wondered if, the way we envision him and how we like seeing him was robbing him of joy. Mm-hmm. I wondered if, we had a way of, not accepting like, the potential difference just in our tone of voice. There was a lot of things that was happening between us and him that it was just kind of like, man. So there was a lot of like conversations that were being had, and afterwards, I just, it's important to like just stay the course. Like, so be there for all of it. Be there for the mess up. Be there for the win. Be there for the reconciliation. Like, be there for all of it. When you're parenting, I feel like it's really important. Yeah, that's kind of all I got.
I kind of wanted to share this because I feel like it was insightful for me. But I was talking to my therapist about this whole transformation of Theo and whatnot. And then she was talking to me about how every 7 years there is a, like our cells, I'm going to read, it says every 7 years we become essentially new people because in that time, every cell in your body has been replaced by a new cell. And I didn't know that was something that was happening. But as I'm talking to her, she was like, well, she was telling me about this whole experience. And then so I grew curious about this whole 7-year cycle thing. And in the 7 to 14 year phase, I want to read this. It says the development of the earlier phases continued here. The ideas, concepts, associations which had begun are now being discovered by the child. The child experiences physical and psychological development. Sexual organs slowly start maturing toward puberty. The thymus considerably decreases in size, promoting the development of right, wrong, and social responsibility. Adult teeth replace milk teeth. The child has started creating an inner world of their own with their own heroes, dreams, happiness, dangers, and imagination. The direction of the child's interest is also visible at this point of time. Associations with the outer world increase. The child learns to share, interact, and control earlier instincts in favor of surviving harmoniously in groups. The habits learned all this while becoming a part of the character of the child. And I feel like I can see this starting to happen.
Yeah, I think he's early to the party.
I definitely think he's a little bit early because he's always been kind of people smart, because it says that part about the child learns to share, interact, and control earlier instincts in favor of surviving harmoniously in groups. I feel like Theo's kind of been on that for a while. But reading that whole section kind of reminds me of the Brene Brown thing, the story I'm telling myself. And I feel like there's a story that Theo is telling himself. If I cut my hair, I'm going to be rich. If I cut my hair, people might not like me anymore. I just feel like there's a lot going on there that I'm really curious to watch evolve and develop.
Yeah, I agree, and I think he's been transitioning into that season probably since he was 6. When he lost, I think he was 5 when he lost his first tooth. But like, I think it's hard. It's really hard to parent Theo because I feel like I'm often stifling him because I'm like, you ain't ready for that yet. And I'm like, well, actually, you're pretty ready for that, and that is I'm having a hard time because if Uriah was first, I'd be like, oh, this kid is pretty advanced. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that but I feel like Raya is right on time.
Yeah.
Like Raya is like a 5-year-old and a 5-year-old, 6-year-old. And I think he's going to be right on steady on time. He is very, very artistic and very like brilliant in like a creative way. But as far as like emotional and like mentally, like I feel like he's like has the emotions correctly of a 5-year-old. He's very, very, very like involved and knows what he wants and stubborn. Like, ooh, that Cancer. He's a Cancer. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as astrology is concerned. Theo, on the other hand, is like, man, I have to let go a little bit and kind of let him lead because I don't know if I'm stifling. Right? Don't you feel that way?
I agree.
How do you feel? I mean, like, do you feel like any part of you as a mother is like, I don't want to let go, or I'm not sure about this, or?
There's so much. And I don't know if this has anything to do with his age or whatever, but like even the little things when he's like, Mom, can I help you cook? Or Mom, can I, like, letting him give himself his own bath, like shower. That was like, what? You want to do that? But at the same time, it's like at some point he really should be able to like bathe himself.
Yeah, but he could have been doing it a lot sooner.
He totally could have been doing it a lot sooner.
And then I think he also plays into it.
Yes.
And he'll be like, I don't know how.
Yes.
You know, in laziness.
Yes.
Right? So there's so much happening. It's kind of like
there's so many mind games with that kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's mentally
he's a mind ninja.
Yeah. like he's on something else.
Yeah.
It's something different about him, man. You can't really explain it. But the emotional intelligence, the readiness, like even watching him in parkour, I'm like, this is good. He's agile and like super, like what is happening with this kid right now? Like, I don't know what's happening with this kid. And people, and even the parkour's coach is like, yeah, he's probably gonna when he turns 7, we're gonna put him in the 8-year-old class.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were like, yeah, he's kind of like he's already got this stuff down.
Nice.
You know, and I'm like, okay, you know, but
which makes me nervous, not gonna lie.
Why?
Because, you know, a year makes a whole difference. And these children out here are cray-cray.
Yeah.
Like, but at the same time, okay, so I will say this. Was I talking to you? Because, like, Theo, Riya, Levi, and Selah are, like, squad. They're squad, right? They are homies, like, whatever. Riya, Levi, and Selah are all 1 year behind, a little over a year behind Theo. And to be quite honest, I'm starting to notice the age gap between Theo and the rest of them. And like, I'm starting to feel like Theo might need to kind of find some kids who are closer to his age and maybe a little bit older just because of his maturity level. Simultaneously, this makes me a little uncomfortable because I just know influence. Like for me, Theo is more like whereas Riya will be amongst people and they'll be doing something and Riya's like, heck no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
like,
y'all gonna get in trouble.
Whereas Theo, I do believe that Theo has like a moral compass, but he is also a very
he wants to be liked.
He wants to be liked, but he's also very like, like, let me walk to the line, see how close I can get to the line without crossing it. But sometimes he just falls over on the other side of the line. You know what I'm saying?
He goes over willingly. He doesn't fall.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We can see about that. But yeah. And so while I feel like he should be probably engaging with older kids, it makes me a little bit nervous because of the influence that they might have. And I don't necessarily, like, in a setting like parkour, I don't know those kids' parents. Like, I don't know anything about them. And I've already seen some things in those settings where it's like, ooh, that kid, they need some structure, discipline, whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking like, man, so if you look at the video, you watch the video, you're going to see a production value increase. Right. So you've probably seen video or footage of, on Instagram or wherever from Beleaf in Fatherhood, but you're going to see literally a production value increase because I have someone else helping me shoot and edit George. Coltrane, who was amazing. He was a patron for a long time. He's a local friend, and he now works with me in my office. And so because I have him and we can actually get ahead now, I now am kind of like, all right, it might be more important at this point, seeing that Theo's kind of transitioning into this 7 to 14 age range where he starts to, adopt certain like things, you know what I'm saying? And like his habits will become his, lifestyle kind of. I think I need to be home like a lot more in the mornings. You know what I'm saying? So like starting the day with him, helping him get his waves, brushing his teeth, morning meditation, push-ups and all that stuff. Like I feel like the value, like I see it more now needed than ever. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
So, babe, how married are you?
I'm so married that before we started the podcast, I was making myself some tea and I offered to make you some tea too.
Thank you, babe.
How married are you, babe?
I'm so married that yesterday for date night, usually you come pick me up to the office, but I was already walking out to the street when you got there. You didn't have to drive in, pick me up and took me,
Thank you, babe.
You're like, I shouldn't even be driving on date night.
No, I'm like, you just need to be home and we leave together. Because what happens is after date night, I have to drop you off back at the office and you be taking an hour to get back to the house.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you too. And
no, we have married are you?
Oh, we have someone else?
We have a bunch.
Hello, How Married Are You podcast. I'm sending in this voice memo to say that I am so married that today I woke up about 2 hours earlier than I normally do to make my husband breakfast and lunch for him to take to work. And that's just how married I am.
Wow.
Girl, 2 hours early?
2 hours early.
Woo.
She smoked something. She had to smoke something.
Oh, you said smoke.
No, not smoke. I mean, like she
smoke
had to,
some meat or
yeah,
something.
she put in some effort.
I was like, what?
Yeah, she slow cooked them eggs. That's what I'm talking about right there. Slow cooked the eggs. I love it.
Thank you so much for that. Guys, please don't forget to send in your How Married Are Yous.
Yeah.
You can send them in via DMs on Instagram. You can to our How Married Are You account. You can call in and leave a voicemail at 760-335-6643. Or you can leave us a voicemail on Anchor. So
we gotta go. Okay,
and that's just how married we are.